My name is David Mitchell, and I used to think the worst thing that could happen to a man was losing his job. Turns out I was spectacularly wrong. The worst thing is having your wife kiss her ex-boyfriend on stage in front of 3,000 people while you're holding her purse like some pathetic lapdog. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started 3 weeks before the annual Riverside Music Festival. My wife Sarah, a PR executive who could sell ice to penguins, had been unusually excited about the event. More excited than she'd been about anything involving me in the past 5 years. "David, you absolutely have to get us VIP passes this year," she said, pacing around our kitchen in her designer heels, clicking against the tiles like a metronome counting down to disaster. "This could be huge for my career. The headliner is supposed to be some major artist, and all the important people will be there." I looked up from my laptop where I was troubleshooting a client's network issues. My IT repair shop wasn't exactly glamorous, but it paid the bills and kept food on the table. "VIP passes are expensive, Sarah. We're talking $800 each." "So? We can afford it." She waved her hand dismissively, the same gesture she used when discussing my little computer business with her friends. "We can afford it if we skip our vacation this summer." "Fine. This is more important than some boring beach trip anyway." I should have known something was up when she asked for an extra ticket for Lila, her best friend who organized half the cultural events in town. Sarah never wanted to hang out with friends when I was around. She said I was too technical for her social circle. The festival was held at Riverside Park, a sprawling area by the old mill district that the city had converted into an event space. It was one of those post-industrial success stories that looked great in tourism brochures, but still smelled faintly of rust and disappointment. I spent the morning setting up our VIP area, arranging chairs, making sure Sarah's phone was fully charged for all the photos she'd inevitably post. She arrived an hour late with Lila and someone I hadn't expected to see. Jonas Brennan, Sarah's college boyfriend, the one she'd dated for 3 years before we met. The one she claimed to have zero contact with anymore. "David!" Sarah's voice had that fake enthusiasm she used with difficult clients. "Look who's in town. Jonas is here for some business meetings, and Lila thought it would be fun if he joined us." Jonas extended his hand with a smile that probably cost his parents $50,000 in orthodontics. "David, right? Sarah's told me so much about you." I shook his hand, noting the expensive watch and the kind of casual clothes that cost more than most people's rent. "Funny, she's never mentioned you at all." The smile flickered for just a moment. "Well, you know how it is. Ancient history and all that." Ancient history that was apparently well preserved. Throughout the afternoon, I watched Sarah and Jonas fall into their old rhythm. Inside jokes, shared memories, the kind of casual touching that made my stomach clench. Sarah laughed at his stories with genuine delight, the same laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. Our daughter Mia, 17 and permanently attached to her phone, picked up on the tension immediately. "Dad, this is awkward as hell," she whispered during one of Jonas's animated tales about his latest business venture. "Language," I said automatically, but she wasn't wrong. The main act took the stage as the sun was setting. The headliner turned out to be a rapper I'd never heard of, but the crowd went wild. Sarah pushed her way to the front of our VIP section, dragging Jonas with her while I followed behind like a third wheel at my own expense. Then it happened. The rapper, high on crowd energy and probably other substances, decided to pull someone from the audience for some interactive nonsense. His security team scanned the VIP section and pointed directly at Sarah. "You, beautiful lady in the red dress, come on up here." Sarah looked back at me, her eyes bright with excitement. "Should I?" Before I could answer, Jonas was already pushing her toward the stage. "Go for it. This'll be amazing." I watched my wife climb onto the stage, her face glowing under the spotlights. The crowd cheered as the rapper handed her the microphone. "What's your name, gorgeous?" "Sarah." "And who'd you come here with tonight, Sarah?" She looked out into the crowd, her eyes finding Jonas first, then sliding past me like I was invisible. I came with my... Well, it's complicated. The rapper grinned. Complicated? I love complicated. Where's your man at? Sarah pointed toward our section, but not at me. At Jonas. There he is, the handsome one! Jonas, the absolute bastard, actually waved. Well then, Sarah, how about you give your handsome man a kiss he'll never forget? What happened next will be burned into my memory until the day I die. Sarah grabbed Jonas by his designer shirt, pulled him onto the stage, and kissed him like they were the only two people in the world. The crowd erupted. Phone cameras flashed. The kiss went on for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 seconds. When they finally broke apart, Sarah grabbed the microphone again. Sorry, everyone, wrong boyfriend, but definitely the better choice. The crowd went absolutely insane. Even the rapper was laughing and high-fiving Jonas. I stood there in the VIP section, holding Sarah's purse, watching my marriage implode in real time while 3,000 people cheered. Mia was recording everything, her face a mixture of shock and teenage mortification. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was going to... It's fine, I said, my voice sounding strange and distant. Let's just go home. But Sarah wasn't ready to go home. She was still on stage, basking in the attention, while Jonas played the part of the romantic hero. I walked to my car alone, leaving them to figure out their own transportation. By the time I got home, the video was already online. Mia had posted it on TikTok with the caption, "When your mom chooses chaos." It had 300 views and climbing. I poured myself a bourbon and sat in my home office, staring at my computer screen. My phone buzzed with notifications. Text messages from friends, family, coworkers. Everyone had seen the video. My brother Tom, "Dude, what the hell was that?" My mother, "David, honey, call me when you get this." My business partner Rick, "Saw the video, man. You okay?" I wasn't okay. I was humiliated, angry, and something else I couldn't quite identify yet. Something cold and calculating that was just starting to wake up. Sarah came home at 2 a.m, reeking of alcohol and someone else's cologne. She found me still sitting in my office. "David, we need to talk." "Do we? Seems like you said everything you needed to say on stage tonight." She had the decency to look ashamed, at least. I was caught up in the moment, the crowd, the excitement. You didn't mean to call Jonas the better choice? You didn't mean to kiss him like that in front of everyone we know? Which part exactly didn't you mean, Sarah? All of it! None of it! God, you're being so dramatic. Dramatic. I was being dramatic for being upset that my wife had publicly humiliated me and declared her preference for another man. "Where's Jonas now?" "He went back to his hotel." "Which hotel?" She hesitated. "The Riverside Inn. The most expensive hotel in town. Of course." "Sarah, I need you to be completely honest with me. How long has this been going on?" "Nothing's going on. We just reconnected tonight. We were talking about old times, and I guess I got nostalgic. It was stupid, but it didn't mean anything." I looked at my wife of 15 years. Really looked at her. The woman I'd built a life with, had a child with, supported through her career changes and family drama. She was lying. I could see it in the way she wouldn't meet my eyes, the way she kept fidgeting with her wedding ring. "Go to bed, Sarah. We'll talk more tomorrow." She left, and I turned back to my computer. The video now had over 10,000 views. The comments ranged from sympathetic to brutal. That poor guy just standing there with her purse. She did him dirty, but honestly good for her. Imagine being that embarrassed in public, yikes. Plot twist. Husband planned the whole thing for the insurance money. I closed the laptop and went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to Sarah's guilty breathing beside me, and planning my next move. Because here's the thing about being publicly humiliated. It clarifies things. All the little compromises, all the times I'd bitten my tongue, all the ways I'd made myself smaller to accommodate Sarah's ambitions, suddenly seemed pathetic. But I wasn't going to be pathetic anymore. I woke up to my phone buzzing like an angry hornet. 43 missed calls, 112 text messages, and enough social media notifications to crash a server. The video had gone viral overnight. Sarah was already gone. Her note on the kitchen counter read, "Went to work early. We'll talk tonight. Sorry again." Sorry again. Like she'd spilled wine on my shirt instead of destroying my reputation in front of half the town. Mia shuffled into the kitchen, her face buried in her phone. "Dad, this is really bad." "How bad?" "Someone made a meme out of you. It's called Purse Holder Husband, and it's trending on Twitter." She showed me her phone. There I was, frozen in time, holding Sarah's designer purse while she kissed another man. Someone had added the caption, "When you're waiting for your wife to finish her main character moment." Great. Just great. There's more. Someone at school recognized you, and now everyone's asking if you're my dad, the sad purse guy. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. 17 years old, dealing with the social nightmare of having parents who'd become internet famous for all the wrong reasons. "I'm sorry, kiddo. I know this is embarrassing for you." "It's not your fault, Dad. Mom's the one who—" She trailed off, but I knew what she was thinking. My phone rang. Rick, my business partner. "David, please tell me you have some kind of explanation for what happened last night." "The explanation is that my wife is having a midlife crisis and decided to work it out in public." "Okay, but we've got a problem. The Hendricks account called this morning. They saw the video and they're concerned about the stability of our business leadership." The Hendricks account was worth $60,000 a year. Losing it would hurt. "They're canceling?" "Not yet, but they want a meeting. Today, to discuss the situation." I closed my eyes. I'll be there in an hour. The drive to the office was surreal. I kept expecting people to point and stare, but life was going on as normal. The barista at my usual coffee shop gave me a sympathetic smile, though. "Rough night, huh?" "You could say that." "Well, for what it's worth, I think your wife's an idiot. You seem like a good guy." It was a small kindness, but it helped. The meeting with the Hendricks went about as well as expected. Mr. Hendricks, a pompous man in his 60s who'd made his fortune in real estate, spent 20 minutes explaining how family values were important to his business image. "We're not saying we're ending our relationship," he said, "but we need to see some stability, some indication that this incident won't reflect poorly on our association." I wanted to tell him where he could shove his family values, but $60,000 is $60,000. "I understand your concerns, Mr. Hendricks. I can assure you that my personal life won't interfere with our professional relationship." Good. We'll be watching, of course." After he left, Rick and I sat in uncomfortable silence. "This is screwed up," Rick finally said. "Your wife cheats on you publicly, and somehow it's your fault?" "She didn't cheat. She just made a statement. A statement that she'd rather be with someone else, in front of 3,000 people." He wasn't wrong, but hearing it out loud made it worse. I spent the rest of the day trying to work, but my concentration was shot. Every time I tried to focus on code or network diagnostics, I'd see Sarah's face in those spotlights, hear her voice saying, "Definitely the better choice." Around 3 o'clock, my friend Trish called. She owned Murphy's Bar, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your problems. "David, get your ass down here. You need a drink and I need to tell you some things." Murphy's was nearly empty in the afternoon lull. Trish poured me a bourbon without asking and slid it across the bar. "Okay, so I've been hearing things." "What kind of things?" "The kind of things that make me want to punch your wife in her perfectly veneered teeth." Trish had never liked Sarah, but she'd kept her opinions to herself for the sake of our friendship. "Let me guess. People are talking." "Honey, people are doing more than talking." Sarah and her boy toy had lunch at Chez Laurent today. Very public, very cozy, holding hands across the table, sharing dessert, the whole romantic comedy bullshit. My stomach dropped. You saw them? My cousin works there. Sent me pictures. She slid her phone across the bar. There they were, Sarah and Jonas, looking like the happiest couple in the world. Sarah was wearing the dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. There's more. Jonas isn't just visiting for business, he's moving back to town. Bought the old Peterson mansion on Elm Street. Paid cash. How do you know all this? Because I know the realtor, and because Jonas has been telling anyone who'll listen that he's reconnecting with old friends and exploring new opportunities. I stared at the photos. Sarah looked happier than she had in years. David, I'm going to say something, and you're not going to like it. Go ahead. This wasn't spontaneous. People don't just decide to move back to their hometown and buy a mansion on a whim. This has been planned. The bourbon burned going down, but not as much as the realization that Trish was right. Jonas's convenient appearance, Sarah's sudden interest in the festival, her request for extra tickets. It all made sense now. How long do you think? Based on what I'm hearing? At least a few months? Maybe longer? I finished my drink and stood up. Thanks for telling me. Where are you going? Home. To have a conversation with my wife. David, be careful. Don't do anything stupid. But I was already walking out the door. Sarah was in the kitchen when I got home, making dinner like it was any other day. She looked up when I walked in, and I saw guilt flash across her face before she composed herself. How was work? Interesting. I learned some things today. She kept chopping vegetables, but her movements were more precise, more controlled. What kind of things? I learned that Jonas bought a house here. The Peterson place. Paid cash. Her knife paused for just a second. Did he? That's nice for him. I also learned that you two had lunch at Chez Laurent today. Looked very romantic. Now she stopped chopping entirely. David, I can explain. Please do. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been planning this for a while. The festival was just your coming out party. She turned to face me, and for the first time in years, I saw the real Sarah. Not the polished PR executive, not the devoted mother, but the woman who'd decided I wasn't enough anymore. You're right, she said quietly. We've been talking for a few months. Nothing physical, just talking. About what? About life, about dreams, about feeling trapped in a marriage that stopped working years ago. The honesty was brutal, but I appreciated it more than her lies. So what now, Sarah? Do you want a divorce? I don't know. Maybe we could try counseling, work things out? Work what out? The fact that you're in love with someone else? The fact that you humiliated me in public? The fact that our daughter is getting bullied at school because her mother decided to have a very public midlife crisis? Mia's getting bullied? Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? Did you think you could just blow up our lives and everything would be fine? Sarah started crying then, the kind of tears that were more about self-pity than genuine remorse. I never meant for it to happen this way. I felt so alive with Jonas, like the person I used to be before I got buried under mortgages and parent-teacher conferences and your mother's passive-aggressive comments about my career. So this is my fault? My mother's fault? No, it's not anyone's fault. It's just, we grew apart, David. We became roommates instead of lovers. When Jonas came back into my life, I remembered what it felt like to be desired, to be exciting. I looked at this woman I'd shared 15 years with, and I felt something inside me go cold and quiet. You're right about one thing, Sarah. We did grow apart. But the difference between us is that I was willing to work on it. You decided to work on someone else. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to choose, tonight, Either you cut all contact with Jonas and we try to rebuild our marriage, or you move out and we start divorce proceedings, but you don't get to have both of us. David, please, it's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Choose. She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw the answer in her eyes before she spoke. I need some time to think. No. You need to choose. Right now. I can't. Not like this. Not with you standing there looking at me like I'm some kind of monster. Then I guess you've made your choice. I walked upstairs and started packing a bag. Sarah followed me, still crying, still trying to explain why she couldn't choose between the life we'd built and the fantasy Jonas represented. Where are you going? To Rick's place. You can have the house tonight to think. But tomorrow, I want an answer. David, please don't go. We can work this out. I stopped packing and looked at her. Sarah, if you have to think about whether you want to be married to me or run off with your college boyfriend, then you've already given me my answer. I finished packing and headed for the door. In the hallway, I ran into Mia. Dad? What's happening? Your mother and I need some space to figure things out. I'm staying at Uncle Rick's tonight. Is this because of the video? The video was just the beginning, kiddo. But don't worry. Whatever happens between your mother and me, you're the most important thing in both our lives. She hugged me then, fierce and tight. I love you, Dad. I love you too. As I drove to Rick's place, I realized something had fundamentally changed in me. The humiliation, the betrayal, the lies. They'd burned away something soft and trusting and left something harder behind. Sarah wanted to choose between her old life and her new one? Fine. But she was going to learn that choices have consequences, and I was going to make sure those consequences were memorable. I didn't sleep much at Rick's place. I spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, thinking about 15 years of marriage and how quickly it could all fall apart. But somewhere around 3 a.m., my sadness crystallized into something much more useful. Anger. Cold, calculating anger. Sarah texted me at 7 in the morning. I've made my decision. Can we talk? I knew what her decision was before I walked into our house. She was sitting at the kitchen table, still in her robe, looking like she'd been crying all night. But there was something else in her expression. Relief. I'm sorry, David. I'm so sorry. But I can't pretend anymore. I love Jonas. I think I always have. Okay. She blinked. Okay? You've made your choice. I accept it. When do you want to move out? I thought maybe you could stay with Rick for a while longer, just until I figure out the logistics. I almost laughed. Even in leaving me, she wanted me to make it convenient for her. No, Sarah. You're the one who wants out. You can figure out where to go. But Mia's school, and my job, and not my problem anymore. She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. I think she'd expected me to beg, to fight for her, to make some grand gesture to win her back. The idea that I might just let her go hadn't occurred to her. David, you're being cruel. I'm being practical. You want Jonas? Go be with Jonas. But you don't get to keep the comfortable life we built together while you explore your new relationship. What about Mia? What about her? She's 17, not 7. She can handle her parents getting divorced. What she shouldn't have to handle is watching her mother string her father along while she plays house with someone else. I stood up to leave, and Sarah grabbed my arm. David, wait. I know I hurt you, but we can be civilized about this. We can co-parent effectively. We can even be friends eventually. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then back at her face. Sarah, you humiliated me in front of thousands of people. You've been lying to me for months. You've put our daughter in an impossible position and damaged my business relationships. And now you want to be friends? I never meant. You never mean anything, do you? You never meant to fall in love with Jonas. You never meant to hurt me. You never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen, and now you have to live with the consequences." I pulled my arm free and headed for the door. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours." That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before in 15 years of marriage. I looked at our joint finances. Really looked at them. What I found was interesting. Sarah made more money than me, but she also spent more money than me. A lot more. Her credit card bills were astronomical. Designer clothes, expensive lunches, spa treatments, the kind of lifestyle inflation that happens when someone starts feeling entitled to luxury. Our joint savings account, which should have had about $40,000 in it, had $12,000. The rest had been slowly drained over the past 6 months. Small withdrawals, nothing that would trigger alerts, but steady and consistent. I called our bank. "Hi, this is David Mitchell. I need to check on some withdrawals from our joint savings account." After verifying my identity, the customer service representative pulled up our records. "I see several withdrawals over the past 6 months, Mr. Mitchell. All authorized by Mrs. Mitchell. Would you like me to email you the detailed statements?" "Yes, please." The statements told a story. Expensive dinners for 2 at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel charges in the city during times when Sarah claimed to be working late. Shopping sprees that coincided with Jonas's previous visits to town. She'd been financing her affair with our money. I made some calls. First to a lawyer, then to a private investigator, then to our accountant. By the end of the day, I had a plan. That evening, Sarah came home with Jonas. They walked into our house, my house, like they owned the place. "David," Jonas said with that practiced smile, "Sarah told me about your conversation this morning. I want you to know that I have nothing but respect for you and the life you've built together." "Do you?" "Absolutely. This situation is complicated for everyone involved. I hope we can handle it like adults." "Adults," I repeated. "Like adults who have affairs and finance them with their spouse's money?" Sarah's face went pale. "David, what are you talking about?" I pulled out the bank statements and spread them across the kitchen table. "I'm talking about the $12,000 you've spent on your relationship with Jonas over the past 6 months. The hotel rooms, the dinners, the shopping trips, all paid for with money from our joint account." Jonas looked genuinely surprised, but Sarah just looked caught. "I can explain." "I'm sure you can. You can explain it to my lawyer. And to the IRS since you've been claiming some of these as business expenses on our taxes." "You looked at our taxes?" "Sarah, I looked at everything. Did you really think I was just going to roll over and let you destroy our family without consequences?" Jonas stepped forward. "Look, David, if there's been some financial impropriety, I'm happy to reimburse." "Shut up, Jonas. This isn't about the money. This is about the lies, the betrayal, the complete lack of respect for our marriage and our family." "David, please," Sarah said. "We can work this out. We don't need to involve lawyers and make this ugly." "It's already ugly, Sarah. You made it ugly the moment you decided to cheat on me with our money." I gathered up the statements and headed upstairs. "I'm packing the rest of my things. I want both of you out of this house by tomorrow night." "You can't kick me out of my own home." I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at them. "Actually, I can. The house is in my name. I bought it before we got married. You might want to check your facts before you make demands." That wasn't entirely true. We'd refinanced several times during our marriage, which complicated the ownership. But it was true enough to make Sarah doubt herself. Upstairs, I could hear them arguing in hushed voices. Jonas was apparently less comfortable with the situation now that it involved potential legal complications. I finished packing and called Mia. "Hey, kiddo, how are you holding up?" "I'm okay, I guess. Mom told me you guys are getting divorced." "Yeah, we are. How do you feel about that?" "Honestly, kind of relieved. You guys have been miserable for years. At least now you can both try to be happy." My daughter was 17 and already wiser than her mother. "Where do you want to live? You get to choose. Can I stay in the house? I know it's probably going to be sold or whatever, but I've got senior year coming up, and I don't want to change schools. You can stay in the house as long as I own it. And if your mother wants to buy me out, that's fine too. But you don't have to choose sides, Mia. This is between your mother and me. I know, Dad. But for what it's worth, I think she's being really stupid. After I hung up, I sat in my car in the driveway and looked at the house I'd called home for 15 years. Tomorrow I'd start over. New apartment, new life, new everything. But tonight, I had one more thing to do. I drove to Murphy's bar, where I knew Trish would be working the evening shift. The place was busy, filled with people who'd probably seen the viral video and were curious about the local drama. "David," Trish called out when she saw me. "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. Can I get a bourbon? And can you do me a favor?" "Anything. I need you to spread some information around. Nothing malicious, just facts." I told her about the financial irregularities, about Jonas buying the mansion, about Sarah's months of deception. Trish listened with growing anger. That manipulative little witch. Using your money to finance her affair? Like I said, just facts. People can draw their own conclusions. Trish grinned. "Oh, honey, people are going to draw some very interesting conclusions." I finished my drink and headed home to Rick's place. Tomorrow the real work would begin. The divorce proceedings, the property division, the custody arrangements. It was going to be messy and expensive and emotionally exhausting. But tonight, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Because here's what Sarah never understood about me. I might be quiet, I might be accommodating, I might even be boring. But I'm not weak, and I'm not stupid. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I'm very good at games, especially the kind where the stakes are everything you've built and everything you thought you could keep. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Sarah. I didn't call her back. Instead, I called my lawyer. "Tom, it's David Mitchell. I need to accelerate our timeline. I want divorce papers filed today." "That's pretty fast, David. Are you sure?" "I'm sure, and I want to include a detailed accounting of the financial irregularities we discussed. That's going to make things contentious." "Good. I'm done being accommodating." By noon, Sarah had been served with divorce papers at her office. By 2 p.m., she was calling me from the parking lot of her building, crying and screaming alternately. "David, how could you do this to me? At my workplace, everyone saw the process server." "You mean everyone saw the consequences of your choices? This is vindictive and cruel." "No, Sarah. Vindictive and cruel would be posting the hotel receipts online. This is just business." I hung up and turned off my phone. I had work to do. 3 weeks later, the annual Riverside Music Festival was back. This time, I wasn't planning to attend as a spectator. The divorce proceedings had moved quickly, helped along by Sarah's obvious guilt and Jonas's desire to avoid any legal entanglements. She'd agreed to most of my terms in exchange for keeping the financial irregularities out of the public record. But I wasn't done yet. The festival was being held at the same venue, with many of the same vendors and sponsors, including Hendricks Real Estate, which had dropped my business after the viral video incident. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment, not just the legal and financial aspects of my divorce, but something more personal, something that would give me closure. I arrived at the festival early, before the crowds, wearing a staff t-shirt I'd had made. It looked official enough to get me backstage access, and in the chaos of setup, no one questioned my presence. I found the sound booth and introduced myself to the technician. "Hi, I'm David from Mitchell IT. I'm here to check on the wireless network setup." "Oh yeah, we've been having some issues with connectivity. Can you take a look?" I spent an hour legitimately fixing their network problems, earning the tech crew's trust and gratitude. In the process, I also gained access to the sound system and the video screens. By evening, the festival was in full swing. The same VIP section where I'd been humiliated was packed with the same social climbers and local celebrities. And there, in the front row, were Sarah and Jonas, looking like the perfect couple. Sarah was wearing a new dress, something expensive and attention-grabbing. Jonas had his arm around her possessively, playing the role of the successful boyfriend who'd won the prize. I waited until the headliner took the stage. This year's act was a country singer with a reputation for crowd interaction and spontaneous moments, perfect for what I had planned. As the singer launched into his third song, I made my way to the sound booth. The technician I'd helped earlier was busy managing the audio levels. "Hey, thanks again for fixing our network," he said. "Saved our asses." "No problem. Mind if I borrow your microphone for a second? I think I left something in the VIP section and I need to get someone's attention." He handed me a wireless mic without thinking twice about it. I walked to the edge of the stage area, just visible enough for the cameras to pick me up, and waited for the song to end. As the applause died down, I keyed the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all having a better time than I did at this festival last year." The crowd murmured, confused. On the video screens, my face appeared larger than life. In the VIP section, Sarah's face went white. "Some of you might remember me. I'm the guy who went viral as the purse-holder husband, the one whose wife decided to kiss her ex-boyfriend on this very stage and announce that he was the better choice." The crowd was fully engaged now, sensing drama. Well, I wanted to come back this year to give you all an update on how that story ended. I could see security moving toward me, but I only needed another minute. It turns out that my wife had been planning that moment for months. She'd been having an affair with her college boyfriend, financing it with our joint savings account, and using our marriage as cover while she figured out her exit strategy. The crowd was dead silent now, hanging on every word. But here's the thing about public humiliation. It teaches you who you really are. And what I learned is that I'm not the kind of man who stays down when he gets knocked down. I looked directly at the VIP section, where Sarah was trying to hide behind Jonas. "So, Sarah, if you're listening, I want to thank you. Thank you for showing me what 15 years of marriage meant to you. Thank you for teaching our daughter what betrayal looks like. And thank you for giving me the motivation to rebuild my life without you in it." Security reached me then, but I wasn't done. "Ladies and gentlemen, let this be a lesson. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And when they try to make you the villain in their story, write your own ending." I dropped the microphone and let security escort me away. Behind me, the crowd was buzzing with excitement, and the country singer was trying to regain control of his show. But the damage was done. The video screens had broadcast everything, the audio was crystal clear, and I could already see phones recording from the audience. By the time security reached the exit, my speech was already being uploaded to social media. The sequel to Purse Holder Husband was about to go viral. I drove home to my new apartment and waited. The first call came within an hour, a local news station wanting an interview, then another. Then a call from a producer in Los Angeles who'd seen the video and wanted to option my story for a movie. But the call that mattered most came at midnight. "Dad?" Mia's voice was shaky. "I saw the video. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, kiddo. Better than fine, actually. Mom's pretty upset. I imagine she is." "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Are you proud of what you did tonight?" I thought about it for a moment. Was I proud of publicly humiliating my ex-wife the way she'd humiliated me? Was I proud of turning my personal pain into public theater? "I'm proud that I stood up for myself, Mia. I'm proud that I didn't just disappear quietly and let people think I was weak or pathetic. Your mother made choices that hurt our family, and she tried to make me the villain for being hurt by those choices. Tonight, I set the record straight." "Good," she said firmly. "I'm proud of you, too." After we hung up, I poured myself a bourbon and sat on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. My phone was still buzzing with notifications, but I ignored them. Tomorrow, there would be consequences. Sarah would be furious. Jonas would probably want to distance himself from the drama, and I'd have to deal with the media attention. But tonight, for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. The next morning brought a surprise. A knock on my door at 8 a.m. revealed Tom Hendricks, the real estate developer who'd dropped my business after the original viral video. "David, I hope I'm not intruding." "Not at all, Mr. Hendricks. What can I do for you?" "I wanted to apologize and to offer you your contract back with a 20% increase." I stared at him. "I'm sorry, what?" "I saw your speech last night. My wife saw it too. We both realized we judged you unfairly. You're not unstable or unprofessional. You're a man who was betrayed and humiliated, and you handled it with more dignity than most people would have." "Mr. Hendricks, I appreciate that, but, David, let me be frank. I've been married for 38 years. If my wife did to me what yours did to you, I'd have burned her car and posted the video online. What you did last night took courage." He handed me a new contract. "Think about it. We'd be honored to work with you again." After he left, I sat in my kitchen with the contract in front of me, trying to process what had just happened. My phone rang. "Rick." "David, you magnificent bastard. Do you know what you've done? Probably destroyed what's left of my reputation? Are you kidding me? You're a folk hero. The video has 2 million views and counting. People are calling you the comeback king. I've had 6 new clients call this morning asking specifically for you." "You're joking." "I never joke about money, partner. You've turned our little IT business into a brand. The guy who stood up to his cheating wife and came out swinging? That's marketing gold." I spent the rest of the day fielding calls and emails, interview requests, business inquiries, and surprisingly, several messages from other men who'd been through similar situations and wanted to share their stories. But the most important call came that evening. "David, it's Sarah." Her voice was different, smaller, defeated. "Sarah, I wanted to tell you that I'm dropping the custody challenge. Mia can live with you if that's what she wants." "What changed your mind?" "Jonas thinks it would be better if we made a clean break, started fresh somewhere else." "He's running away from the bad publicity?" "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that, Sarah. But that's your choice to make." There was a long silence. "David, I know you probably hate me now." "I don't hate you, Sarah. I just don't care about you anymore. There's a difference. I never meant for things to end this way." "You never mean anything, remember? But things end the way they end because of the choices we make. You made your choices, and now you get to live with them." "What if I said I was sorry? What if I said I made a mistake?" "Then I'd say you're about a year too late." After I hung up, I realized something had fundamentally shifted in me. The anger was gone. The hurt was gone. In their place was something much more valuable: indifference. Sarah was no longer my problem to solve or my pain to carry. She was just someone I used to know, someone who'd taught me an important lesson about my own strength. 2 weeks later, Mia moved in with me permanently. We ordered pizza and watched terrible movies, and she told me about her plans for college and her new boyfriend and all the normal things that daughters tell their fathers. "Dad," she said during a commercial break, "I'm glad you're my dad. Even after all the drama and the viral videos and the public humiliation? Especially after all that. You showed me what it looks like to stand up for yourself, to not let people walk all over you just because you love them. That's a hard lesson to learn." "Yeah, but it's an important one." The next morning, I woke up in my new apartment, in my new life, and realized something remarkable. I was happy. Not the desperate, grasping happiness of someone trying to convince themselves that everything was fine. The real thing. The kind of happiness that comes from knowing exactly who you are and being comfortable with that person. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Mitchell?" This is Jennifer Walsh from Walsh Entertainment. We'd like to discuss adapting your story for a Netflix series. Are you available for a call this week? I looked at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. Some stories don't need sequels. Some endings are perfect just the way they are. I made coffee, kissed my daughter goodbye as she left for school, and headed to work. I had a business to run, a life to live, and a future to build. And for the first time in years,